Did you know there is an entire secret city in China that has been hiding right behind the Great Wall? How could so many people have lived in this city for 1,000 years without us knowing about it? And why do you think the Chinese government tried to cover up its existence? Some say the reason is actually quite insane. But before we get into all of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button because it really helps me out. Thanks guys. Now back to the video. This is the only part of the Great Wall of China that is purposely hidden. It took over 100 years to build and protected the lives of millions of Chinese citizens from invaders. But what's even more amazing is that there was a whole secret city built inside of the Great Wall that nobody knew about until recently. In this video, we are going to talk about how this secret city was found, who was living inside the walls, and most importantly, why do you think the Chinese government tried to hide it? If you haven't heard anything about this secret city, then I guarantee you will be shocked by the end of this video. So let's jump right into it. There was a young man named Yuan Zhongyi, who was born in Beijing, China in 1953. He spent most of his childhood hearing stories about the Great Wall of China from his grandfather. His grandfather told him how the wall was built to protect the Chinese people from intruders and keep them safe. Yuan wanted to see the Great Wall with his own eyes, but his parents couldn't afford tickets to visit it. Instead, they would take him to an old watchtower close to their house. As time went on, Yuan fell in love with history and specifically the Great Wall of China. He devoted his life to studying the wall and learning everything he could about it. In 1983, Yuan started working at the Institute of Archaeology under the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. Here he researched ancient texts and historical sites related to the Great Wall of China. He combed through every book and scroll he could find about the wall. Eventually, one text caught his eye. It was titled Jian Records, which means Notes from the Border. This book described various military operations along the Great Wall during the Ming Dynasty between 1368 and 1644 AD. One passage stood out to Yuan more than the others. It read, "There is a fortress on the mountain, about to Changlong from east to west, with 4 gates facing the 4 directions. Inside the fortress is a city inhabited by soldiers and civilians." However, the book made no mention of where exactly this fortress was located. After reading this passage, Yuan became obsessed with finding the hidden fortress. He knew that it had to exist somewhere along the 13,000-mile wall. But first, he needed permission from the Chinese government to search for it. After reviewing Yuan's proposal, the Chinese government denied his request, saying, "The project lacks scientific value and is not approved." Even though his request was denied, Yuan was determined to find the lost city. So he gathered a few friends and started to search for the hidden city on his own. He and his team examined every inch of the Great Wall of China, but they couldn't find any trace of the fortress mentioned in the ancient text. As they explored the wall, they noticed that some parts of it were newer than others. Over the years, the Chinese government had repaired and rebuilt certain sections of the wall. So Yuan's team started to dig underneath the newer parts to see if they could find something older. In 1999, Yuan's team made a shocking discovery. They found the remains of a building beneath the newer structure. At first, it looked like just a regular house, but as they continued to dig, they uncovered a whole neighborhood. The team discovered streets, houses, shops, and other buildings buried beneath the Great Wall. They also found pieces of pottery, tools, and other artifacts from the Ming Dynasty. This was incredible news. Finally, someone might find the hidden city soon. To make matters even better, The Chinese government heard about Yuan's discovery and gave him permission to continue his research. After receiving approval from the government, Yuan and his team continued to excavate the site. By 2001, they had uncovered the entire city. The city was located in the Shaanxi province of China. It was about 3 square miles in size and was completely hidden beneath a section of the Great Wall. The city had been covered by the wall for so long that no one had any idea it was there. The archaeologists were surprised to find that the city was well preserved. They could still see the outlines of the buildings and other structures. They also found many artifacts from daily life, such as coins, jewelry, and weapons. This was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Archaeologists had never found anything like this before. The team carefully excavated the site and uncovered more and more artifacts. They found a variety of different objects, including arrowheads, knives, scissors, and other tools. They also found jewelry, coins, and other items from daily life. The team was able to learn a lot about the people who lived in the city by studying these artifacts. They learned that the city was home to a variety of different people, including soldiers, farmers, and merchants. The soldiers lived in the city walls and were responsible for protecting the people who lived there. Farmers grew crops outside the city walls, and merchants sold goods in the city. The team also learned that the city was prosperous, and that the people who lived there were relatively happy. However, the team also found evidence of a fire that destroyed much of the city. The fire must have been very intense because it burned away almost all of the wood in the city. The team believes that the fire may have been caused by an attack from a neighboring kingdom. The team also found evidence of another disaster, this time a flood. The floodwaters must have been very deep because they covered the entire city. The flood may have been caused by a nearby river overflowing. The floodwaters eventually receded, but they left behind a thick layer of mud. The mud eventually turned to stone and buried the city. The city remained buried for centuries until the Great Wall of China was built on top of it. The team was able to date the city using a technique called dendrochronology. This technique uses tree rings to date organic material. By counting the number of rings on a piece of wood, scientists can determine when the wood was cut down. Using this technique, the team was able to date the city to the Ming Dynasty. The team also used a technique called thermoluminescence dating to date the artifacts they found in the city. Thermoluminescence dating is a method of dating pottery and other ceramic materials. It works by measuring the amount of light emitted from a sample when it is heated. The more light that is emitted, the older the sample is. Using this technique, the team was able to date the pottery to the Ming Dynasty. So far, the team has uncovered about 10% of the city. They have found dozens of buildings, including homes, shops, and a school. They have also found a variety of artifacts, including coins, jewelry, and weapons. The team plans to continue excavating the site for at least 5 more years. They hope to uncover more about the city and the people who lived there. So now that we know all about the city, let's talk about why do you think the Chinese government tried to hide it? There are a few theories about why the government tried to hide the city. The first theory is that the government was afraid that the discovery of the city would cause too much damage to the Great Wall. The government may have thought that the media and tourists would cause too much damage to the wall. That's why they tried to keep the city hidden. The second theory is that the government was afraid that the discovery of the city would cause political problems. The government may have thought that the discovery of the city would be seen as a threat to the current regime. This is because the city was built during the Ming Dynasty, and the Ming Dynasty was overthrown. In 1644, the government may have been afraid that the discovery of the city would lead to unrest among the population. The third theory is that the government was afraid that the discovery of the city would lead to economic problems. The government may have thought that the discovery of the city would cause too much inflation, or that it would cause the value of the yuan to fluctuate. This is because the discovery of the city would have brought a lot of tourists and media attention to the area. This would have led to an increase in prices and possibly even a decrease in the value of the yuan. I don't know what you think, but I'm pretty sure that the Chinese government didn't try to hide the city because of any of these reasons. Instead, I think they were trying to hide the city because of the fourth reason. I think the government was trying to hide the city because it contained a secret that was too dangerous for the public to know. For example, the city may have been built on top of a sacred burial ground, or it may have been built on top of a place where a terrible crime took place. Maybe the government was trying to hide evidence of a crime, or maybe they were trying to hide evidence of a war. Whatever the reason, I think the government was definitely trying to hide the city for a very important reason. If you want to know more about the Great Wall of China, then check out this video next. But, as always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.